hate to ask you this after the game the other night. Obviously, may not be a factor with Oklahoma, but noticed RJ bringing the ball up a lot more the other night. Didn't seem like more than he has this year. Was that something you saw on film against A&M, or just trying different guys in that role?
When most of our guys get a defensive rebound, they've got the license to push the basketball. When our fives get the rebound, we prefer they outlet it to, whoever's manning the point guard position. But there's times when we're trying to push the pace, and it'll be after a made basket. And, Cameron Matthews is so good at getting the ball out of the net in a timely fashion and trying to find the point guard, but he sometimes will outlet it to the first person he sees. And it gets me a little nervous at times because we're not as organized as maybe I'd like to be, but it puts a lot of pressure, on the defense. And I think it was just a result of he happened to be, nearest to the inbounder, and then on a couple defensive rebounds, he took the opportunity to push the basketball.
We'll go down the line with Benjamin and then Sam.
We've asked about him before, but Chris Beard said after the Ole Miss game that Shawn Jones was the difference in that game with his team high plus minus, and he's been really good in spurts in a lot of key games for you guys. So what do you feel like he does that helps your team that maybe doesn't always show up in the box score every night?
Well, we every game we keep track of checks, so it's evaluated post game, and they have opportunities to check someone when the ball is shot on the defensive end. And I don't have it in front of me, but I would venture to say that he's in the top 2 or 3 of percentage of checkouts. And, some have more opportunities than others, but, he's so reliable that way. He doesn't necessarily rebound the ball at the highest level. But what he does do is make darn sure, someone on the other team isn't getting the basketball. And defensively, I think he's been better the last 2 games than he was all year long. He's always had the ability to use his length and motor to disrupt the other team, either via, on the ball or even in the passing lanes. But I think he's made a concerted effort to be better in terms of not giving up angles when guarding the basketball, and just being more square on the ball, and it's showing up, And I've always said this about Shawn is in most games, not all, but most, he just somehow finds a way to be there on the floor at the end of the game. He's earned a lot of trust from our staff because we know what we're getting. He understands, time and score. He was very visibly upset with himself when he missed a couple threes in the A&M game. And I remember some of our guys, really coming to his side in one of the later huddles and just encouraging him, and I didn't encourage him one-on-one, but I talked to the team about, not letting a missed shot or a turnover affect their mindset of what we were trying to do was obviously win the basketball game at that point. And then when he took the corner 3 away from our bench, I think there was a little over 2 minutes left, and we were pretty close to like, hey, we need to milk this thing out with the lead that we have. And I don't know if it got caught on camera or not, but I had a little bit of a dumbfounded look on my face when he shot that ball. But I was so happy for him when it went through the net. Just gave him a little bounce in his step, and I think the bench was really happy for him too.
You talked even before the season began that this season's team might not be as good defensively as the last 2 that you've had here, and but you're still at this point, I believe, on pace to break the program record in terms of total steals for the season. That's just, how do you maybe kind of explain that, where maybe there's been a slight step back defensively, but you're still, getting steals at a very high rate?
Yeah, I talked to, the radio guys before the game, like I always do, and even the TV broadcasters, in the shoot-around. And what I told them was, I think we're a better defensive team than our numbers say. Now, I know that, the numbers, the record is who you are. I get all that. But just from my perspective and experience, like, that doesn't mean you can't get great stops when you need them. That doesn't mean that you don't have faith and confidence in what we're doing on that end of the floor, just because our efficiency, per, some sort of calculation says this is what we rank. And that's kind of what I was trying to explain to them is I've gained a lot of confidence in these guys because they've kept working at it. Our staff has done a tremendous job of tweaking small things here or there to try to shore up some deficiencies that we've shown. And one thing that we don't ever talk about, and I don't really talk about it, with the team is, our steal percentage is very, very high. And at the same time, an area of concern for us going into the season because of lack of size was, protecting the rim. And our block percentage, it's got to be higher than it's ever been. And, we don't maybe have some girth that we've had in the past, but we've got multiple guys that have learned how to use the shield technique with not being able to take charges. And I think it's really paid off for us. And then how we defend, with the early help, and the rotations, et cetera, getting those steals and having guys that protect the rim a little bit better than they have in the past, has helped us. Our 2-point field goal percentage defensively is really, really, really good. The one that's being maligned, and rightfully so, is the 3-point percentage. But, we'll see. But I believe as the season continues to progress that will still come back down.
We'll go to Coach's right with David and then Jacob.
We almost take Cam Matthews' versatility for granted sometimes, but have you had players before in your experience who one series is lined up in the post defensively and goes the other end and he's basically playing point guard?
Fortunately, I have. I love those players. I've had a couple guys like that, and they're just fun to coach. They got a Swiss Army knife type skill set, and I don't ever get tired of talking about Cam and the thing about Cam that I love the most is his number one priority are his teammates, this program, and winning. Like he don't like it when he misses a free throw. He doesn't like it when he has a silly turnover. Nobody does, but he doesn't seem to let it affect him much, and he stays pretty locked in. And having faith and trust in someone on the floor that is basically at times an extension of you, and he's talking to his guys. He's trying to keep their minds right and keep them organized even while the ball is in play. He knows our system inside and out, offensively, defensively. He can play any position that we have. And, normally that's reserved for a point guard, but, leadership and organization can come from anybody. And he's earned tons of respect from his teammates because of his competitive spirit, his stature, how he plays with that fire and passion. And don't get me wrong, some of you've seen it. We've had our moments, and that's okay. When you play for a coach that coaches the way that we do, you're going to have that. But it's always out of want to and respect. And I don't want to think about it, but it's not going to be as much fun when he's not around.
Coach, Oklahoma's been struggling recently, but I think at one point they were ranked this season. Kind of what are some of your early impressions of them?
Yeah, they were 13-0 going into the SEC. And like you said, for whatever reason, they haven't won as many games as obviously they would have liked. But from the film, you wouldn't know it. If you just watch the film and not look at their record, you'd think they're right in the middle of it all. They play really, really hard. They've got really good players. They got a freshman in Fears out front that will be in the conversation for freshman of the year in the SEC, and then the Moore kid. They've got a nice duo going, with different sizes, different positions, and they shoot the heck out of the basketball. I mean, they shoot the ball very, very well from three, which obviously, like I just said, has been an issue for us. And then they're I think, number one, if I'm not mistaken, in the free throw percentage in our league. So, defending them, not fouling them will be a huge deal. And like I said, you wouldn't know it on film. They're competing at a high level. They've lost some really tough, close games. And like all of us, they're coming down the stretch and they're fighting for every inch, for every ball, for every opportunity. And, I know they'll be prepared and ready on Saturday, and they're going to give us everything that we want.
Got time for a few more. We'll go to Sam, and then we'll go to Jacob to wrap it up.
Another road game, an area where this team has fared pretty well this season. Have you been able to reason kind of why this Mississippi State team has fared pretty well in some of those environments?
No, but I'm glad that we are. It's been critical for us to win away from home. We've had some great wins away from the hump, and any coach would tell you it's probably the truest sign of who you are as a basketball team in terms of your mental toughness and your character, to be able to do it away from the friendly confines when you have a little more distractions than you normally do. And I love going on the road. I love being tested and challenged that way. And certainly when you have the results that we've had for the most part, it makes you feel really good internally about the makeup of our basketball team. But at the same time, you got to do it again. You've got to continue to try to replicate the things that put you in that position to win those games. But there's no reason that, when we leave here tomorrow and we're getting ready for that early tip on Saturday, that they don't have a great mindset.
Coach Josh scores 25 points the other night, and he only put up 6 3-point shots. Where have you seen him grow in all areas of his offensive game other than shooting?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. When you look at the stat sheet, like having 25 on 10 shots, that's about as efficient as you can be from an offensive standpoint. And then add in the assisted turnovers and then the steals. I thought it was one of his most complete games that he's played since he's been here. He's had the big scoring nights. He's had the stretches, the ooh-ah shots. But from where I sit and watching the tape, he was more engaged defensively off the ball. That's probably one of my biggest gripes with him, is that just off the ball, he will at times relax a little bit and not be in the right spot and just kind of take his foot off the gas. It's easy for me to say, I'm not playing 35, 37 minutes where, you obviously would have a tendency maybe to relax a little bit on that end of the floor. I understand how that works, but he just was on it. His tension in his body, his being in the right spots, his handsiness of getting his hands on basketballs and turning them into offense for us. And then, part of the plan was to, draw them in, and we did it many, many times. We felt like the drifts, the corners were an area that we could throw the ball to and try to get him in rotation that way. And over, if you remember, he would drive it one direction and all of a sudden throw it back, to someone else in that deep corner, and we'd either get a shot or try to drive the ball from there and make something happen for each other. So I thought he was efficient. I thought he followed the game plan, and hopefully that will continue for him.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right. You bet.
If you haven't applied for credentials at Tuscaloosa and you're going, do